Right, it's now the next day, Saturday morning, and I've spoken to the owner, Steve, and he said that he would really like to make this radio as good as it can be. I think he's got one eye on keeping this, so that's okay. So I think one of the first things that we'll try and address is this mess at the back. I'm going to do this before I tune it up, because one of the reasons for that is because it's possible we might put this on UK 40. And so to do that we would need a new crystal. The other thing that I've got to sort out is this bent control knob. It's really bent, the shaft. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, look at that, that's terrible. When you turn it, look, oh dear. And that's not, I don't think that's the knob. I'm pretty sure that's the shaft. That diode looks a bit toasty down there as well, doesn't it? Like it's had a few shorts to deal with over its life. We'll check the diode out, and I think there was a problem with the audio. There wasn't any audio coming out of this socket as well, so there's a number of little annoying little things. These always take time. Indeed, the diode is showing as a resistor. And let's get that changed. So again, just like with the communicator, I've broken out the innards of a brand new mic socket there, 4-pin, and the pin size is perfect for this lead, very snug fit. So I'll set about just recreating the Rotel socket, as I've got the one on the desk here. We'll create that in 3D, print it on the normal resin print, the normal 3D printer, not the resin printer at the moment, because that's it's a bit hard to get to. So we'll do it on the normal printer. It'll look fine, and yeah, hopefully it'll work and just look a lot better than that lead going through the back. Right, so I decided to look at designing the collet first for the microphone. That was nice and straightforward. So I got that quickly designed and set that printing up on the other printer. And then I thought, well, let's look at doing this bracket and this socket. Now, if you look at the original Rotel socket, it has a little bracket support piece which helps support the socket into the case. So I decided to replicate that. So I basically from the external of the Rotel radio mocked it up, measured up the pins that were going to go in, and then designed this little side brace thing which will actually brace the socket into the chassis. Now, this should actually work for a Rotel radio as well. So I noticed some of them do have their sockets missing or broken as well. So this has been designed to stop the thing from being pulled out. The little M2 screws self-tapped into the bracket there, and it should mean that this socket doesn't go anywhere. And I could of course resin print this as well if I wanted a super smooth socket on the back, but to be honest, it actually came out really well. No need to get into the mess of resin printing this, and it'll be nice and sturdy and strong. So this is how it came out. There we go, there's our bits. It's come out really nicely. Got our little rails in the top there, and as you've seen on the CAD there, it just sits on the top. We'll drill through with the 2mm holes, clamp that to that to that to the side. You can always paint it black or whatever to make it match. Hopefully I'll just put the pins in there, get that in. We'll look at this knob now. I think it might just be the knob's been put on at a funny angle looking at this again, which is good. So I'm going to wrap some string around that and pull that knob off and see why it's got in a state like that, and what I can do to rectify it. Unfortunately it is bent. I had to get the knob off, I had to wrap some string around it. That's the top tip. If it's really tight, just keep wrapping string between the edge of the knob and the skirt there, and just keep wrapping it around tight, and it'll pull the knob off, which is what I had to do. So we need to extricate this and see if we can straighten it. That was good. I managed to straighten it amazingly. I mean, it just depends on how much fatigue they've had, but that actually is absolutely fine now. So that's perfectly straight. Well, I wouldn't get a dial gauge on it, but you know what I mean. I didn't show it on the CAD drawing, but I was aware that there was this little piece up here which could get in the way. So when the socket sits in there, that should sit underneath that there and clamp the socket and stop it moving. There's the socket in the back, and we've wired it in from the top. We're just going to pop the clamp over the top of that now and put some screws in there to keep it in place. It's pretty well in place anyway, but it will just stop it moving. It's actually so secure with just these two top M2 bolts through, because it can't get pushed in at the back because it's slightly bigger than the hole, and it can't come out this way so easily now. But obviously a good yank might pull that out, so we still need to use these side retaining screws, but it's not really going to go anywhere, is it? I mean, it can't slide on these rails, and they're going through the socket, so it's absolutely solid. But we probably don't need this one in the side here. We could probably get away without that one, but I will put the M3 one through the back there, and then that's absolutely secure. That's never ever going to go anywhere. There we go, all installed. Little M3 cap there, and there's our nice socket in grey. Didn't have any black, but does it matter? Not really. There we go, it's grey. Let's so yeah, we need to make sure the plug fits, don't we? These power leads from Knights and Curtin Lindsay, they are about £3 or £4 each, and they're called a 2-pin round. That's the name of them. You can find them on their website, and this should just plug in there. It's quite a firm fit, so I'll just put the camera down. There we go, it's in there, absolutely solid. That really isn't going to go anywhere at all. Yeah, this design is much better than the first design. I didn't like the idea of using the glue, so I'm pleased that that's worked like that, and these pins are really well stuck in there, and they can't go in that direction because of there's a half moon shaped block in that little block there that's stopping them, and then they've been melted into the plastic, which would stop them being pulled out with the plug, and also they've got this blob of solder there as well, which would act. You shouldn't use solder as a mechanical joint, but that will help prevent it from being pulled out. So I'll give it a few tries just to make sure, plug it in and out a few times, but I think that's not gonna, those pins shouldn't come out. Just proof of the pudding. There we go, and you can see we've got this volume on off control straight now, so that's all good as well. So that's good. I'm really pleased with that. If anyone else needs one of these, I could always knock one up. I would need to do a different brace, I think, for the Rotel. I think the socket is slightly, the bracing position is different on the Rotel. It's reversed, but I can look at that anyway, because I'm sure there's probably more Rotels out there in need of a power socket than there are Formac 120s out there, that's for sure. Alright, so there are no service manuals for this radio. That I could find anyway, so I've had to go through the wiring diagram and meticulously look through it and work out what everything does and what doesn't do, because bearing in mind this has all these extra boards. This isn't just this chassis, it's got the extra board. You've got your FM board there, and your Roger Beat board, and you've also got your high and low frequency board there, so you've got all that, which is different from the standard chassis, if you like. So okay, so the next problem to sort out is we've got output on the speaker leads, but we haven't got output to the socket there. So I don't know if we've got actually output on the socket or not, which we can test just by touching our speaker wires literally onto the back of the socket there, see if we're getting anything. So we've got the plug in at the minute, and what it should do is take the speaker signal away, which it's done on this connector, but it should be switching it internally to the center pin, and it's not. So if we just short these two out, then we've got our external speaker working there. So it's definitely that socket that's at fault. So we're in that same position again now, where I'm going to have to, I haven't got a socket because it's an unusual shape. I haven't got one like that, so I'm going to have to make like a little plate to fit that, so it looks a bit more so back to the 3D printer. This is taking a long time. I hope Steve's remortgaged his house. Yeah, crazy. Right, so just design very quickly an adapter plate for the socket there, so we can fit the socket to the back of the radio, and that's fine, that's all in. So let's just test that now. I think that's going to work fine. I did take apart the other socket, and there was absolutely no way it was beyond repair, so that's the best we could do. That's functional, it will work. If a scrap chassis comes up, we could peel one off one and change it over anyway, but it's fine for now. To be honest, it's fine for a long time, isn't it? I don't think it'll be an issue. So let's see if we can get any crackling through the speaker now. The Formac, you don't need the mic in for receive. So let's plug the extension speaker in, test this out. There we go. It's all hunky-dory. Suppose we should test the speaker. Just make sure it's not coming out on the speaker at the same time. Okay, so we've got a good solid connection now. That's not going anywhere. Brilliant. And you can hear we have an FM signal on here of 1.58 microvolts, and that's unfortunately what it's doing for 12 dB Synad at the moment, which we should be able to improve. So I normally would do TX power first, but I'm actually going to go through and do that now. The VCO I think is okay. I haven't got much info on setting up the VCO anyway, so I don't want to mess around too much with that. But because I've spent, crikey, 2 hours I reckon with the wiring diagram, going through working out what everything is. I'm just going to go through. I'm not going to show it on camera because it's incredibly boring. I'm going to go through and basically see if we can improve on 1.58 microvolts for 12 dB Synad. I'm going to do that there. Now there are a couple of inductors on the board there, which from the circuit diagram I can't quite work out what they're there for. I have a feeling one may well be FM detector. That is deviation. And I think this one might be for the detector, but we will find out. I might warm the oscilloscope up and see if that is the case first, because I'd like to set the detector before I do the receive. Yeah, so somebody been screwing with the FM detector. That is the FM detector on this board, that can there, and that has massively improved our just that adjustment has given us for 0.81 microvolts 12 dB Synad, which, you know, for modern day radios that's actually pretty decent. I've not actually been through and adjusted any of the receive stages at all. All I have done is establish that that is my big finger. That is the FM detector. Okay, so we've peaked that, and that's brought us in at 0.81 of a microvolt for 12 decibel Synad. So we'll go through all of that and see if we can improve on 0.81 microvolt for 12 dB Synad. Now, looking at the circuit diagram, tweaking all of that will basically set the AM receive as well. Okay, a little bit of tweaking. We've got it down to 0.57 of a microvolt for 12 dB Synad, which I think is very, very respectable for a radio of that age. Now I could go and do a little bit more, play around. We will check it on AM just to make sure if we're getting similar performance on AM. I think this radio is going to perform better on FM than AM, personally. It's always a compromise with these older sets, actually, when this really is an AM set and they added these extra boards in to give you an FM radio, but it really is an AM radio with an FM facility. But it's still nonetheless really clever how they did that, and I really like the sort of the simplified way that they did that. Okay, squelch adjustment is under there, RV1, down there in the gap. You have to lift the FM board up to adjust it. There we go, and we have our signal on. We have our squelch up to the maximum, and we have our squelch level set to 89. So let's just see where the squelch opens up. Oh look, perfect, 97. That's 100 microvolts at full chat. Okay, we now have the mic, the Formac 120 mic, and we will see what we're doing on transmit. Well, we're going to do this all on CPT20. I can't remember what we were doing before, to be honest, but let's have a little look. Oh, we got that problem. We're going to unplug the external speaker. Okay, we're doing 3 watts, which isn't great, is it? Let's be honest. I think we can do a little bit better than that. So looking at my, now you can freeze frame this, guys, if you've got one of these and you need to find out what does what. I spent 2 hours this afternoon working out exactly what this did. I still don't know what that one does next to the FM detector. I might find out during this test. But there's all the transmit side. So what I'm going to do is going to peek that and see what we can come up with. And I have tweaked it accordingly now. We can actually get over 5 watts on this. 1, 2. So a little bit low on deviation. I can't really get any more out of it with any adjustment. I've cleaned the pot, but a little bit low, but it's actually fine. Should be good enough for jazz, as they say. So what are we looking at now? We're looking at the TX meter was way off, wasn't it? Look at that. We've got right. Where did we identify that as being? RV4 is TXM. That's that top corner there. So let's just adjust that. There we go. It's a little bit more like. And don't worry, guys. We will check this on AM. We have the Tiny SA. I was a little bit annoyed to find within a few days of me ordering the Tiny SA, they've now brought out a Tiny SA Ultra, which has a bigger screen and a little bit more capabilities. But this is still a great little bit of kit. Don't get me wrong. But they brought out a Tiny SA Ultra now. I haven't contacted anybody about this yet, but I could do with one because, you know, my eyesight isn't the best. So the screen is a little bit small on this, so it's fine though. Yeah, the Tiny SA Ultra would be great because that's a little bit bigger. I'm just going to set it on frequency now. So for your low band, that's your frequency adjust. It was pretty close on frequency anyway. For your mid-band frequency adjust, it's this top one, and then for your high band, it's this one here. Just so thought I didn't make that clear on the video before, but that's the order that you do them in anyway, just to get it spot on frequency. Just on high band, we're not getting it's not transmitting properly on high band. I'll just clean the legs of the crystal; they're quite dirty. And checking it here, we've got 20.928. It should be 20.930. So it's a little bit down. That's the high band crystal, 20.930, but we should be okay. So I've just put some switch cleaner in the socket. We'll let that dry out and we'll try it again. I wasn't getting any transmit in high band, so I adjusted the VCO can here and then it came in. I had to give that a fair bit of adjustment. There's also one here you can adjust as well. But it's a bit of a compromise really, this set. So, and I have no voltage settings for the VCO. There is some voltages on the drawings which I could probably monitor. They've got some voltages on the drawings which I could probably adjust to see if I could get that close, but I've spent so much time on this now. That would take quite some time to do that, but I suppose I could technically do that. If you look at the drawing there, on the two mixers, that there's you can see the voltages underneath the pins. So we could probably do that. It's a bit fiddly, but it is transmitting. It's not as powerful on the high band. Got it switched to high band now, and this is what I was talking about, it being a bit of a compromised radio. So we're only doing a couple of watts on the high band, but it's doing more on the lower band. So I might be able to balance that a little bit with the power section, but yeah, it's without a service manual it's very tricky to get this absolutely spot on. But what I might do is I might see if I can work out what voltage will be relevant on the mixer chips there, and see if we can get it a bit closer. The problem I've got is these ferrites are quite worn and they're stiff, and I don't want to break them, so we'll see. Right, we're all done. What I thought I'd do is just quickly put the Tiny SA into AM mode. So we've got an external reduction there of minus 40 dB. So we're looking at a signal level of minus 116 dB, which is about 0.3 of a microvolt. So, and that's right on the limit of this receiver on AM. On FM, I think, did we say it was last night 0.8? I think we got our RF gain there. So what we'll do, we'll change the mode to FM and see what difference that is, and see if we get roughly a similar sort of signal. And there's the same signal on FM. So you might say that it probably is a bit better on FM, possibly. We'll take a Synad reading off that actually. Although, yeah, this is the Tiny SA, and the Tiny SA, as we've already explained, it's I think on FM you have to set it for 0.94 to get the tone, but we'll try. Yeah, so in FM it's given us, that's a 0 dBm, but we can still hear it down there, can't we? So if we just raise the lost my pointer. If we just raise this up a little bit, go up 10 dBs. There we go. So minus 106. So it's doing 12 decibel Synad there for minus 106 dBm. Okay, so that's just over 1 microvolt on the Tiny SA, but that was different on the TTI last night, wasn't it? I think we got it down to about 0.8, so a little bit of difference there. Okay, so we'll wait for Mick to do an over-the-air test. We'll do AM and FM, and then we'll get this back on its way to Steve. But certainly quite an improvement from how it came into me. It's been a lot of hard work actually, and I've had to put this down now to concentrate on other stuff. So, but it's done, and we'll send it back to Steve. But we'll do a quick test first and see how it performs. And there we go. There's a collet just to stop that wiggling around now. So that will help the microphone from not pulling out. Okay, right. We've got the Formac 120. 120 channel AM FM radio here. Mick had to have a lot of work done, as you'll have seen on the video if you've been watching, and yeah, you'll see it's a lot done to get it to work, but seems to be okay now. And I wonder how you copied me there. We're on FM here on the low band, which is CEPT or AM for everyone out there watching.
Yeah, okay, Paul. Thank you. Yeah, FM. Audio is very, very good. A little bit of
white noise coming across, and it's just a very little bit noise in the background. But yes, the audio is excellent. I won't say that about the Roger Fleet though. I've got my earplugs in.
Yeah, there might be a way of dialing the volume down on it.
I don't know. I'll have to have a look. But everyone loves a Roger Fleet, don't they? I mean, I think you can disable it probably. I don't know. But that's why there is a little bit, obviously, a bit of a delay when you let go of the mic there. A little bit of a time delay. But yeah, really nice radios these, the Formac 120. This one's had a very, very hard life, unfortunately. But hopefully we can make it last a little bit longer now with the stuff that I've done to it. So yeah, I'm glad it's sounding good. You're certainly sounding good at this end there, Mick. What we'll do now is switch over to AM, which I don't think is going to sound quite as good. But if you wanted to try going to AM, and we'll see how that sounds.
Okay, now we've switched over to AM. Obviously my reception on AM round here is a little bit scratchy, so it's not going to be as good as FM.
AM round here is a little bit scratchy, so it's not going to be as good as FM, but hopefully Mick will be able to hear us okay. I wonder how you copy there, Mick. We're on AM now, same channel 25. I wonder how it sounds, Rod.
Yeah, sounds quite good to me.
Quite good to me, a little bit bassier, but audio is fully readable. Yes, you're okay on AM.
Yeah, Roger D, as are you. You're sounding good on AM.
As are you. You're sounding good on AM as well. You know, when I say good, that's relative to how we normally sound with each other on AM between the two houses. For the viewers watching, Mick is about 1.5 miles away, but he's down the slope. There's quite a lot of houses in the way with all the usual electrical activity that are within those houses, which often causes a problem here for AM. Yeah, I'd say as an AM setup, this is actually working quite nicely. I mean, we might just be a little bit blessed with decent conditions today, which might be helping us a little bit. I haven't heard any of our foreign fellas on, other than just a little bit of sideband noise on Tunnel 20 there, Rog.
Yeah, okay, Paul, all copied.
Yeah, okay, Paul, all copied. There's a little bit of noise coming through, and I think I can very slightly detect that there is somebody in the background, but that'll be foreign, won't it? Well, from across from another country in the world somewhere, so that's coming across, but very faintly, Paul, in the noise. Audio-wise, you're good. It's perfect on AM.
Yeah, Rog, likewise. I wonder if the Roger beep sounds any different. Is it as loud on AM, Mick? That'd be an interesting thing to...
Loud on AM, Mick, that'd be an interesting thing to look for.
I don't think it is quite as loud, Paul, to be honest. Definitely louder on FM.
Louder on FM.
Yeah, Rog, okay. Okay, well that's fine. I think that wraps it up for this Formac 120. You're certainly sounding good, and I think as the morning goes on here, I think the noise is going to pick up. So it's probably a good place to stop. So thanks for your help there, Mick. I think we've established this Formac is now a lot healthier than it was before, and I hope people have enjoyed this two-parter. It was a bit too long to put into one video, so I hope people have enjoyed this. And if you have been, thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you, Mick, for your help.
Good time to stop, because you were there was interference coming above you just slightly, and somebody's got a musical bleep at the end of their overs as well.
Ah, Rog, that's a good time to stop then.